when the first farmers arrived on the Greek mainland. Heading across the Aegean from Anatolia, long before the Mycenaean Age, in the 7th millennium BC, they made their homes on hilltops, making their way gradually inland and southwards. We can still see their settlements today in the immense mounds of mud brick refuse known as tells they left behind. Tracing their path backwards all the way across Asia Minor to the Fertile Crescent from whence they came. The earliest so far investigated, and a monster in terms of its size, potentially housing as many as 5 or even 10,000 in its prime, is at Sesklo, not far from the coast in the modern-day province of Thessaly. A large town of the Anatolian model, seen previously at contemporary sites like Çatalhöyük. Soon enough, Sesklo was succeeded by another town nearby, of similar size and importance. We know it today as Dimini. As Sesklo waned, Dimini grew larger, remaining in use throughout the Neolithic, and even into the Bronze Age. Then came a brief lull in activity, but all of a sudden, Mycenaean tombs were built directly into the tell, perhaps with crumbling buildings still visible above, surely surmising the place to have been built by their own ancestors, or at least laying claim to a very ancient tradition. Though the region is known as Thessaly today, a name dating from the post-Mycenaean age from Epirot tribes said to have conquered the region during the Dark Age. Originally, its inhabitants were known as Aeolians, speakers of Aeolic Greek, a dialect which persisted into later times. Ultimately, also being applied to the inhabitants of not just Thessaly, but Boeotia, the island of Lesbos, and the Aeolian Greek colonies of Asia Minor, hinting at long-held links across the Black Sea to distant Colchis beyond. In modern-day Georgia. Archaeologically speaking, a land of gold, perhaps part of the inspiration for the legend of the Golden Fleece. Still one of the most important regions in Greece today, the modern city of Volos lies just next to Dimini, overlooking a great wide natural harbour in the Pagasetic Gulf. This large modern town came about when a number of ancient cities joined up. Demetrius, Pagasae, and Iolkos. It is a place of many ruins. Not just from the Neolithic and the Classical Age, but Mycenaean too. More than most places in Greece, scattered all across this landscape. A time when it had a different name, famous in myth, classic cinema, and modern video games alike, still remembered here today. For this was Iolkos, mythical homeland of Jason and the Argonauts. Son of the deposed king Aeson, Jason's quest to the far side of the Black Sea to retrieve the Golden Fleece from far-off Colchis remains one of the great stories of the Greek world. Sailing at the head of the legendary band of seafarers known as the Argonauts. Like all the best stories, the tale continues to grow in the telling, featuring prominently in Hellenic art and literature, and now in worldwide media. Named for their ship, the Argo, after a wild series of adventures that may or may not have been partly based on real voyages of Mycenaean mariners. Jason succeeded in acquiring the gold, as well as the hand of the king of Colchis' daughter, with whom he returned home to rule. Before, as usually happens with Greek stories, everything took a dark and tragic turn. Medea slaughtering the children she had borne to Jason. In Homer's catalogue of ships from the Iliad, a number of tribes from Aeolis are said to have fought on the side of the Achaeans. The Ainanians, Lapiths, and Perabi among them. Before them, Pelasgians were also reported to have called the place home, until they were defeated and cast out by Achaean colonists, who would found many sites in Thessaly. Because, besides its fame in myth, Iolkos was just one settlement among many. Generations later, by the time of the Trojan War, it was Eumelus of nearby Pherae who led the contingent of 11 ships. Manned by soldiers from his native Pherae, as well as Bibi, Glaphyrae, and Iolkos. The Acropolis of Pherae, once mighty in its day, can still be visited, standing next to a vast Neolithic mound, though both remain little visited and relatively unknown. Though the precise location of Jason's Iolkos has never been definitively located, a number of viable candidates exist. At Dimini, a substantial palatial centre has been excavated over the last 2 decades. Thought to have been constructed by the 15th century BC, it was medium-sized, perhaps serving as the first foothold in the region. Though with all the standard megaron and even Linear B records of a Mycenaean site, suggesting an important place. The many other settlements around the area perhaps suggesting the gradual subjugation of Aeolis under the Mycenaean cultural sphere. In the second half of the 14th century BC, a Tholos tomb would be built at Dimini. followed by yet another. One digging directly into the Neolithic mound. The nobility here being interred alongside jewellery and items of gold and ivory, as well as finely decorated weapons of bronze. But there are other candidates too. To the western side of Volos, the mound of Castro Palea looms. The site of a Bronze Age settlement, a Mycenaean palace complex, and several well-preserved Linear B tablets. And of course, there is Pherae too, with its largely hidden Mycenaean acropolis underlying classical remains. What remains clear is that those situated at the very edge of the Mycenaean world, likely controlling the northern boundary with the so-called barbarians beyond. Iolkos was well connected by the sea, the port of Pasargae connecting it to the wider world through the Pasargatic Gulf, and great riches beyond. Unlike Pherae, which remains obscure, known only by specialists and locals, there were, of course, many other, much more famous Greek cities with far older Bronze Age foundations. If you enjoyed this brief exploration into the Mycenaean world, here's another 6.5 hours I made earlier, covering the entire rise and fall of that most ancient of Greek civilizations. Just click the link here and it'll take you to my main channel, History Time. Thanks, and see you next time.